In the name of God, we are very delighted that the third summit of Astana peace process has been convened in Tehran today. We had two summits. The first was in Russia, Sochi, and the second was Ankara. And today, and we have concluded the third summit. It was a very constructive, positive one. It was and this summit, and in this summit there was satisfactory consultation and coordination regarding the current and future issues and affairs of Syria. This summit has been convened at a time that the U.S. is thinking about labeling another allegation, opposing and slapping another allegation at Syrian government, and they are after new and illegal interferences in Syria, which in this summit we stressed on the non-interference of powers like the U.S., like the Zionist regime. I stressed this point in my speech, and all our friends have shared this point, that foreign military interference in Syria must create new problems and intensify the complexities, and put Syria people at more agony and suffering also. And we talked about Idlib governorate as one of the most as a sensitive issue which has been discussed by the public opinion in the world. On one side, there are a large number of people, hundreds, thousands of terrorists from ISIS, Jabhat al-Nusra, and other terrorist groups. They are stationed in Idlib and are fighting against the security of the Syrian people. They have taken measures against the security of the Syrian people, and in form of terrorist measures, they are doing their anti-human actions, and on the other side to eradicate these terrorists because of the large civilian population. This concern has been started that arrangement must be made that civilian peoples must be saved and must be protected from any harm. And this meeting, and also in the formal speeches of these three presidents, and also after discussion negotiation, and we had after our addresses, that we had reached an agreement that as much as possible we must encourage terrorists to lay down their arms and discontinue this armed actions, because this could create a lot of problems for the Syrian people. It could be dangerous for also the Idlib people. And also in this session we stress at this point that the process of formulation and finalizing the constitution of Syria must be expedited, and the formulation and finalizing the constitution must be implemented with the president of Syrian government and the representative of the opposition. Is a crucial step to the future and stability and security of Syria. We also cover the issue of Syrian displaced in different countries and their repatriation, trade of prisoners, and also the issue of reconstruction of Syria. All the three presidents stressed this point, and also these are the steps that must be taken for the future of Syria. We are very delighted that the 7 years into 7 years of massive suffering and agony of the Syrian people today, the Syrian people, the Syrian people is very close to his final victories in different parts of the Syrian terrorists, in different parts of and regions of Syria. The Syrians have been pushed out and driven out of the region. They had in their occupation, and the legal government and the legitimate government of Syria is exerting control on all most part of the Syria, and also in the entire region. This hope has been promoted, and not a too distant future, peace and security will be restored and implemented in the Syria, which is beneficial for the whole region, also for the three countries whose presidents are here. It's very important and crucial for us, and also the three presidents stressed that our cooperation must be continued. We must continue this process up to the end of the process, or implementation of democracy in Syria, repatriation of displaced peoples, and also full implementation of security and stability in Syria. We must continue taking our step in this. So we must continue making efforts in this regard, and hopefully the next summit, the summit of the three presidents, will be held in Federation of Russia, and the declaration we have agreed on, and which has been adopted by this, it has explicitly has defined our future and the way of our cooperation, the course of cooperation, and also, and thus we will continue our cooperation for the restoration of peace and security to the Syria and also the region, and by extension to the whole region. Mr. Putin. Mr. President, Mr. Erdogan, dear friends, the negotiation we have had in the working friendly environment, it was done in working friendly environment. We covered key issues in order to achieve a political diplomatic solution to Syrian crisis. The final declaration has been approved. We have talked about our agreements in this declaration. Russia, Turkey, and Iran will continue an active role in order to fight terrorism, to improve the living conditions of humanitarian condition, in order to resolve these issues. We would like to use and exploit Astana peace process. I think Astana process is a very effective tool and device in order to restore and revitalize the country of Syria, for the benefit of every Syria. The expert meetings will continue with the participation of representatives. These three countries, representatives of also the opposition group, representative of the United Nations. I would like to remind you that 10 expert meetings have been held so far. Our priority, top priority, is the final eradication of terrorism in Syria. A while ago, with the support of Syrian Air Force, the southwest part of Russia was liberated. Our final objective is to drive out the terrorists from Idlib governorate, which poses a direct threat to the population of the country. We have discussed about a number of specific measures in this regard regarding the Idlib governorate, for the reconciliation process of Syrian people, and we have invited all interested and all conflicting parties to lay down their arms. We believe that under the pretext of supporting the civilization, I think the terrorists are trying to do harm to Syrian people and to do damage to Syrian government and the army. I think the efforts to fake chemical attacks, this is the purpose. We have accurate intelligence that terrorist groups that are trying to fake a chemical attack, and they are preparing for their provocative measures. I have informed my friends about what Russia has done within the frameworks of the UN, within the NPT treaty. This helps to increase it expedites, improves the political process to the achieving, to settle the conflict in Syria. We have discussed about the process of reformulation and finalization of the constitution. We have agreed that we all of us help the United Nations for reformulation of the members and appointing the members of the constitution by both representative of the government and also the opposition group and also a national organization, an institution in portraying any future for the Syrian people. Security, independence, and right of sovereignty must be honored by Syrian people, Iran, Russia, and Turkey. We have paid special attention in adopting coordinated measures to improve the humanitarian conditions to resolve the issues and social problems of Syrians, and we expect that in future we created conducive condition for repatriation of return of displaced and migrants and refugees. We in Syria we have been acting on such a basis. We have the condition is right for repatriation of about 2 million Syrians without any racial discrimination, without any ethnic discrimination, for everyone who wants to return to their own country. We have agreed that with our Iranian and Turkish friends to step up our coordination efforts regarding humanitarian condition to help the civilian population. I would like to stress this point that collectively Russia has donated about 3,000 tons of humanitarian aid to the civilian population, about more than 6,000 hectares. We have demanded about 6,000 hectares regarding the massive devastation and ravages of war in Syria. We believe that there must be a national reconstruction of Syria in place. I would like to thank my Turkish and Iranian friends for the useful points they have raised, and also would like to thank Mr. Rouhani's hospitality. I'm sure that the results of this meeting could greatly contribute to long-term peace and stability. Thank you, my president. Thank you. I appreciate you, Mr. President, for the hospitality extended to me and to the delegation. Iranian poet said this year, as I said that if you are not afflicted by the affliction of others and pain of others, you cannot be called aptly called a human. The reason for our presence in order to express our sympathies with our Syrian brothers and sisters and searching for a way to end to end this tragic humanitarian conflict in the Tripartite Summit, which started in Sochi, and which we are convening the third edition in the same format in order to create and promote security and stability. It has been very beneficial in this respect, these summits, and also give us the opportunity to have an assessment of the real situation in Syria and provide and help and provide for the future steps. These conflicts have been going for 8 years. I think this is not a logical expectation. We cannot logically expect to resolve this conflict in a single day. But unlike others that have turned their back to this fire, unlike others, we have tried to extinguish this fire, and we want to spare any efforts. Instead of dwelling on division, we have tried to concentrate on commonalities. We have Astana peace process has been a catalyst for Geneva talks in order to achieve a diplomatic solution in this sensitive juncture. safeguarding these efforts which have been result of sacrifice is very important. We also reaffirm our resolve to continue these efforts. The press, the media, as you're aware, from the second summit which was held in April 2018, we have seen many developments not in the region but also in the world. I think all these we have developments covered these developments in every dimension. As Syria, we have told them that failure to contain Syrian army will have catastrophic consequences. We have said that invading Idlib will have catastrophic consequences. As you know, we have set up 12 observation points in Syria. So in order to continue restoring peace, we have adopted a very important responsibility in this, protecting the civilians of this, separating the ranks of terrorists from each other, and also keeping the status quo in Idlib is of crucial importance, because Idlib is the same as the entire Syria. I think the wrong step that have been taken will have any wrong steps in this regard will have far-reaching negative consequences in every part of the region. Implementing dangerous measures that puts the lives of civilians at risk and hold them will only pour oil in the fire of terrorism from the very outset of the world. We have always tried to stop the terrorism. We have opened our arms without any discrimination to our brothers and sisters. Like yesterday, we don't want to see a drop of oil shed from an Syrian people. We don't want to see intensification of problem for Idlib government as they have been dealing with it. This has made this very important for us. The issue of Idlib must not cause any retrievable damage, and so any issue must be resolved within the spirit of framework of Astana peace. I think our Turkish stance has been very clear. We have had discussions and consultation with Mr. Rouhani, and we shared our consultation preserving the fundamentals of Astana peace process for achieving a sustainable diplomatic solution is very important. As we reached agreement in Astana process that under the pretext of the terrorism, we must not adopt rash decision. I also stress at this point that the territorial integrity of Syria must be protected, and we also must secessionist groups who are working in lines of other objectives of other groups. We will talk also with the representative of the United Nations in Geneva, and we will talk about the arrangements for setting up a constitution committee. I think it's been finalized. It's finalized. This committee, which is on the agenda, which part of the agenda Astana process. This must be finalized. This must be because it will help contribute. It will add mobility to the political process in this. We have talked about repatriation of displaced people as a country which has hosted about 3.5 million Syrian displaced people. Voluntary safe repatriation of the displaced to their house is as a positive. I think there is a positive attitude in this regard. But to fulfill this issue, there must be necessary coordination with the United Nations, and also necessary arrangement must be made. Political process must be expedited. Our wish is to resolve this issue, reaching a sustainable solution to the crisis of Syria within the compact of 205 of the United Nations Security Council. I think there is no doubt that this responsibility does not only rest on the shoulder of the three countries. Every country in the world is responsible for this. We must, that every party, we must come to an agreement Turkey will continue offering to implement, to fulfill this objective, and I hope that this objective bring good to the people of Syria and everyone. Thank you. If the press has any question in this regards, thank you. Greetings to all the president and also your counterparts who are considering the political wills of the three parties to eradicate the terrorism in Syria. So after the eradication of terrorism in Syria, which I've said is the last strongholds of terrorism in Syria, I think Syria will enter its next stage of its political. So what conditions shape the restoration of political? What conditions will must be fulfilled to restore the peace and security in Syria? The measures have been taken in Syria that have been taken in Syria or been taken in Syria is for the ultimate goal of fighting terrorism, repatriation, restoration of peace, and national authority of the central government of the Syria over the entire territory of Syria in this regard. One of the important steps is the eradication of terrorists from Idlib governor. The entire Syria must be eradicated from terrorists. This is an important, it's a short important objective of not only international community but also the three countries that have gathered here. It also is, and also this is the objective of everyone who claims that wants to play a part in the region. However, Idlib has a special sensitivity that terrorists are using civilians as their human shields. They are hidden among the people, among the ranks of people, in order so they continue their ignominious life. We must make efforts to separate terrorists from the people we must fight with. Terrorists and people must be protected. Their lives must be safeguarded. We are talking about civil. And after we have the east of Euphrates. That's another important as the final point for resolving the conflict in Syria. The east of Euphrates is primarily has witnessed the illegal interference of the U.S. has the primary cause of instability in this part. So the immediate withdrawal of U.S. troops, the U.S. Troops is our request. Constitution, repatriation of this displaced people, also reformulation constitution. Master Zarbin. What agreements you have reached regarding the Idlib? What will be the future of Idlib? In some of the agreements you have said that, but the efforts that are being made, how long do you think the efforts will be made? And in terms of security, how important is the Idlib is for the security of the entire region, or for the security of entire Syria, of course. We have said that in there are a large number of civilians. We must take this fact into our consideration. This is a very important one. But at the same time, we see that what is happening in Idlib at the same time. In the past, we help terrorists. Terrorists recognized, which have been identified in other nations. We help them. We try to move them out of different Syria to move them to Idlib, even with their own arms. But in the Idlib governorate, they have heavy weapons. There are a lot of heavy weapons in Idlib governorate, where terrorist governs. They can produce different types of drones. and they can access to spare parts for the production of drones. We can see that as clashes within Idlib rage on. This is a cause for serious concern, as terrorists. They have always been following the same lines. They use civilians as human shield against this one, that terrorists. They have been doing this everywhere and every point. For example, in Raqqa, I said Raqqa as an example, a city that the US sponsored armed groups are in control of it now. We heard that the terrorists were the culprit. They were blamed and they were accused of using civilians as human shields. We have heard this from the Syrian army personnel. If you have, we have always made efforts, and we have always been successful in this regard. We have always efforts so that the civilians could leave the conflicts. As I would appreciate the efforts of the presidents of both Iran and Turkey, because if hadn't we had good cooperation between our intelligence services and our militaries, if we didn't have such cooperation, we couldn't have come to the current successes we expected. We expect to reach agreement. We expect that our invitation that the interested parties hear our invitation for national reconciliation of our agreements regarding Syria have always been based on the principle of national reconciliation between reconciliation and fighting terrorism. But we hope that the representatives of the terrorist groups they act reasonably and drop their weapons.
گفته میشه که ترکیه با موج مهاجرت خیلی جدی روبرو خواهد شد. سوالم از هر سه تا رئیس جمهور.
So this is a question for the three persons. Have you talked about the new wave of immigration and refugees, and what are your stances? What are your stances as guarantors of peace here? Before anything, here we as the guarantors of Astana peace process, we are furthering our efforts, and the summit started in Sochi. It continued to Ankara and here in Tehran. And regarding this process, the issue is that because of the political terror, waves of fleeings and migration started from the Idlib government. I think they have started migrating to our borders. But when we're looking at it in a general picture, we have a long shared border with Syria, and in this shared border, the only place that Idlib people can flee is Syria, is Turkey, and we, as Turkey, we have been hosting about 3.5 million Syrian refugees here, and Idlib, about 3.5 million people are residing in Idlib. We don't have any more capacity to host 3.5 million. We don't have neither capacity nor the facilities to afford these the shared step that we can take is to prevent any possible migration and wave of refugees if we are successful in countering terrorism. So in today's summit, we talk about laying down arms. We send a message to all the terrorist groups from here. This is our firm stance regarding terrorists. We must be successful in this regard, because otherwise it would instigate another wave of refugees and displaced people. If you remember, Mr. Putin rightly pointed out that it was Dera province. Thousands of people were killed in Dera, and in Dera we had to host hundreds of people and thousands of people, and we provide them with any kind of health treatment on hospital facilities. And there is a same scenario in Idlib. Idlib may have the same destiny. In our bilateral and also in our tripartite summit, we talked about, we have stressed the point of repatriation. We will cover this issue, and also in our final declaration, which has 12 articles, all of these issues have been stressed in a clear, detailed format. And I hope that we can find a way to settle this conflict, and perhaps because Syrian people wants to have their own constitution. They want to hold fair, free election. I hope that we can join hands and become successful in this regard. I would like to the two presidents of Turkey, the Federation of Syria, and Russia and Turkey. I would like to appreciate their efforts and their attendance here, for accepting the invitation of my invitation to come to Tehran. They have had very positive, useful addresses in Tehran summit. And also I would like to thank you all, the media, the press, we have gathered here. I hope that the future of Syria will be a future of peace and security and calm, and Syrian people could return to their country in complete peace and security. Thank you.